Welcome to Toni Talks Humanity Matters. I'm Toni Julian, your host today, and I have a special guest, Chef Carlos Pineda, and we're going to discuss the topic of humanity, because I think that what it means to be authentically human, I naturally thought of you, Chef Carlos. So it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And again, welcome to my world. I'm excited to give you a little inside scoop on who I am and what I'm about.
I think that will be wonderful for a lot of people. And I know that you are already just loved and adored and known by so many. And I'm hoping to introduce you to even more people. But for our viewers and listeners who are just recently being introduced to you, I wanted to share your background because it's really remarkable. And even having known you for a few years now, I did not know the extent of what you were doing. But I just had this kind of very deep, like heart connection with you, where I just knew you were doing well in the world. And when I think of people being human and authentic and genuine, I was like, oh yes, Chef Carlos, he's the man for this. So you are the first guest where we are specifically talking about humanity on Toni Talks Humanity Matters. So this is important to people, I think.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited.
Great. Me too. So just as far as your background, I understand you're born and raised in Gilroy, which for those of you who are out of the state or out of the area, it's in Northern California, south of San Francisco. You graduated with a professional culinary institute. You interned at the Pebble Beach Company, and then you moved on to being a chef in Monterey, Carmel, LA, San Jose, Morgan Hill, and Gilroy. I'm sure you've had many prestigious positions along those lines. And you are now the Director of Hospitality and Culinary Services at Rebekeh's Children's Services. And you oversee the food services, the Culinary Academy, of which I'm helping you with from on a volunteer level. And that's exciting. And that's a separate story in itself. And also the Needed Bakery and Catering. And then in 2010, you developed this Culinary Academy at RCS or at Rebekeh's. And what I love about it is it serves disenfranchised youth, 15 to 25, of which I've had the privilege of meeting some of them. Yeah. And it really teaches job skills, culinary skills, life skills to those people that are graduating. And that's so wonderful is that these 1,600 plus students that have come through are moving on to professional careers and really have that bridge between where they are now and where they want to be. So that's that rainbow bridge. That's that beautiful, beautiful place. Speaking of rainbows, you're an avid supporter of the LGBTQ community, and you've contributed to a lot of organizations, and they are just way too numerous to name, but including the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce and others. And then I've also noticed one of the things that I saw, your most recent was Silicon Valley Business Journal's Top 40 Under 40 for 2021. Plus, you're the reigning champion of the infamous Gilroy Garlic Festival. So I think for 3-4 years in a row, right?
3 years, yes.
3 years. So I want to hear more about that. And then in August, you started Yes, Chef Carlos, which I think is beautiful because everyone says, yes, chef, right? Yes. So yes, Chef Carlos. So with all that, I invited you because I just thought you were just a great role model representing what it means to be a humanitarian, of being genuine and authentic, and then taking that. And you've done what many don't do. A lot of people are that, but you've taken it into making a big difference in the world.
Yes. Yes, I'm excited. Thank you. And again, I have my fans. I always bring them wherever I go. So I have the Yes Chef Carlos fan. So it's one of my staples, as you mentioned. And again, I'm excited because, humanity is individuality, and I'm excited to share more about that. So
yes, that's perfect. And I always encourage people to be as individual and as unique as they are. And so that's what I love about you. So we were talking about humanity, right? And before we get started, would it be helpful for me just to talk a little bit about what it means to me? Because it is such a personal thing.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah, actually, what does humanity mean to you?
Right. So for me, it is my perspective, and everyone, like I said, may have different perspectives, but I think we are just this collection. When I think about humanity, I have this picture of this collection of being just diverse human beings where we are perfect in our imperfection. Like we're not meant to be perfect. I think we are perfect in ourselves, being unique and different. And when I think about it, I believe we're fractals of God that just have all these different experiences with our goal of learning the lesson of loving unconditionally. And we're experiencing on earth the light, and we're experiencing the dark, and we're experiencing emotions and adversity. And then beyond that, and this also ties into what you do, is that as humans, our collective interaction, which is compassion and love for one another, to influence, to inspire, to elevate, and then essentially taking stewardship of others that are around us, and elevating them when we can, and being inclusive, and loving all of humanity and without judgment. So that is my perspective. What is yours, Chef Carlos?
I love that. I love that. When I think of humanity, I think, life doesn't have a guidebook. There's no right or wrong. There's no sources of guidance. There's a lot of gray area. So a lot of us have to find out what that means for us. So I love humanity because it reminds me of individuality. It's, embracing your own spirit or yourself. It's being one of a kind. And so it's going through life to kind of understand and realize what that means for yourself. And that's something I had to realize what my goal of humanity was and what my focus was, becoming a humanitarian, and just make sure I'm there to, embrace and empower others to find their true colors.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you have this realization early on in your life? Like what sparked that?
I actually didn't. It reminds me of a story because I was part of the Leadership Gilroy class of 2014. And before that, in my professional life, I was very quiet. I was the person in the back. I was the person that didn't want to be front and center, didn't want to be in any photos, was just there to kind of do my thing and just, move on with life. But then I took this class on how to become a better leader. And we all have different ways of becoming leaders. And a lot of us embrace it in different ways as well. So after taking this class, I actually learned to embrace myself and be confident. It didn't happen overnight. It happened, over the last couple of years. But since that class, I was able to take myself off that wall and become that social butterfly to say, you know what, this is me, and I'm going to embrace me, and I'm excited to share with the world who I am. And so since then, I kind of was able to fly with what I have and just become where I'm at now. So I'm excited to keep on going and keep that motion going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a lesson of self-love. When we talk about loving unconditionally, we talk about being inclusive, and we talk about non-judgment. So much of that we put on ourselves, don't we? And that's right. What puts us as that, in the back of the room, or the wallflower, or the person who doesn't want to assert themselves or their opinions or their individuality, is that lack of confidence. Because deep down, and we all struggle with it. I did too. I was that shy kid as well. I had curly hair. I did not fit in there. And it's a silly thing, but it is one of those things that, when, as we are going through our younger lives, those things that make us feel different, make us feel alienated, but those things that are different are actually the nuggets, the beauty of what does make us unique. Right?
Exactly.
So bringing us to where you are right now as the director of the Culinary Academy at Rebekeh Children's Services, what do you do with hospitality, and like, what does that mean to you? What do you feel like it means to be hospitable, and how does it relate to our conversation about humanity?
So for me, the word hospitality is in my, career focus, right? Mm-hmm. Being as a chef, being a culinary and credentialed teacher, my goal is always to be hospitable. And that's what we strive for at Rebekeh Children's Services. We're trying to build hope, happiness, and well-being. And we do that by making sure we're bringing everyone into our campus and making sure they feel welcome. They feel safe. They are able to be themselves. And there's no judgment. There's no worry. There's no stress. They're just ready to heal themselves. We are a mental health agency, and we try to make sure we're serving our clientele, and a lot of our youth and families, there's, needs, and we're trying to embrace those needs that they have so we can help them heal. And so for a part of me, making sure they can step onto our campus and just be happy and safe and ready to heal themselves is what I do. As the, culinary instructor for our academy, I make sure I do that with food. So I try to create that sense of food creating community for my students and my youth that I work with. So once they're able to come into my kitchen kitchen come into our doors and say, hey, let's sit down and talk. I'll give you a snack, a meal, a simple little dish that just says, hey, let's start making your stomach happy, which will then help them heal and make their heart happy. So that's kind of what I strive when it comes to RCS. And again, it just ties back to the word humanity, because, we're created to be human, and we do that by hospitality. We're creating ourselves to say, you know what, it's our chance to get out there and share and embrace everyone else.
Absolutely. And, I can just say from personal experience being in the kitchen with you, because I'll just mention here for people that don't know, because I don't really talk about it a lot, but you have graciously invited me in for a couple of sessions, and we did a smoothie session. And then the last one that we did was talking about healthy lifestyles and making parfaits. And I got that sense, and I got that true feeling and that connectedness with these youths, where there was a moment in time. It was so beautiful. And I'm standing kind of at the front, and the youths are standing around the table, and they are so into, spooning in the yogurt, and then doing the little protein poppers and the clusters and the drizzling honey. And they were just creating, and they were heart-centered, and
Right.
they were immersed. And it was just, to me, that moment was just like, wow, it knocked my socks off, because it was like, this is a healing moment for all of these people in here. There was so much just joy in that room. They could forget everything else that's going on in their lives, right? And then there was just this joy and this safety and the security of this space that you've created.
And that's exactly what I try to focus on. A lot of these youth come from different backgrounds, walks of life, and I just try to make sure they come in and say, you know what, I'm going to take care of myself now. A lot of these youth don't have the second chance or the third chance in life. Working with disenfranchised youth, the list is, homeless youth, human trafficking victims, youth who are dealing with, mental health instability from bipolar, schizophrenia, autistic. The list goes on and on. And a lot of them put on a uniform, and that's what their goals are, is they get a chef jacket, an apron, and a hat, and they have that patch that says, hey, I belong to something. And they've never had that chance to belong to anything or start a program and finish it. It's more than just a job readiness program or, getting them employability skills. It's actually learning how to become unique and find themselves. For me, cooking and washing dishes and cleaning in the kitchen is very therapeutic. And a lot of these individuals are able to escape, as you said, their struggles and day-to-day life barriers to become part of a community that they're embraced, and they get to create something and enjoy it after with their peers.
Exactly. And it's just so very positive. And there is something very, because I own a commercial kitchen, something very zen about mopping the floor. Like, I mop the floor. I could hire somebody to do it.
Right.
But it is that just like being very, very just grounded and humble and engaged in those types of things, that sense of belonging. I love with those students. Now, I know a lot of your work revolves around you just being yourself, and you have some certain words to live by, I'm sure. What are those? Do you have certain mottos that you'd like to share?
I do. They're not mottos per se. It's just kind of words that encourage me. Throughout my learning process, I've learned that, I've had struggles myself. I dealt with being, uncomfortable or not confident. I wasn't, my self-esteem was really low. I am, a bigger individual, and I struggle with my weight my whole life. And I've done every single diet out there. But again, my focus was to build that self-love, embrace that body that I was given and the skin that I was given, and just say, how am I going to take this and love myself for who I am, but also be able to share this, journey with everyone else. Body positivity is something that I've always worked on. And I try to push for a lot of people in my, journey that are also dealing with body positivity. And I tell them it's not an overnight thing. It doesn't happen in a couple of days or weeks. It's a lifelong journey. It's, you have to find out what you can, what's going to make you happy and what's going to share that rate of light into the world so that's going to help you be more comfortable. And that's why I created something I call Bare and Bougie. I live in the bearded, the big and tall, and the fabulous lifestyle. And that's what Bare and Bougie is. That's for me a brand that I'm creating to share everybody. Hey, it's okay to be big and tall. It's okay to have a beard. It's okay to be fabulous. And that's kind of one thing I've learned throughout this, whole journey is self-love, is, waking up every morning and saying, hey, love yourself, love who you are, and love what you do. And that's what everyone else around you will feed off of. And yes, there are days where, hey, it's not 100%, it's at 99, it's at 70, it's at 75, and that's okay. People are going to still love you for who you are. And being authentic is a huge part of it. So when it comes to those words that I like to give everyone else is, it's being authentic, it's being true to yourself, and it's just accepting you for who you are. So everyone else has a chance to do the same.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what resonates with me is that when you are in that space and you do have that self-love and other people are around you, that actually helps heal other people, because when you elevate yourself, you're elevating other people around you just by virtue of being you. It's rather iconic, actually. Do you have an icon fan?
I do. Let me bust out the iconic fan right here.
Bust it out.
I think it's right here. Let's see.
Yes. There we go.
And I totally feel you on that, because that's what I tell the youths that I work with. It's just, they come into a place that they don't have a chance to belong anywhere else, but they're able to work on themselves. They're taking time for them. And again, everyone's coming from different walks of life, and they have to learn how to embrace that and take that away from everyone else and say, you know what? I'm ready to help work on me. I'm ready to fix me. I'm not going to let anybody else control my life.
Absolutely. And it's almost, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like the self-fulfilling thing where if you don't have confidence, how do you take that first step? You have to have a little to be able to do that. And I always just tell people baby steps, because and sometimes it's just like one kind thing that somebody said to you that you take and you cherish that. And like, okay, that can motivate you to take one more step. But you're right. Like I think everybody, like if we really understood what was going on in people's psyches and in their minds and in their lives and in their spirits, we would realize a lot of us walk around every day with insecurities, with maybe not feeling as valuable. And really, it's beautiful to see when people step into that light. Like you can see it in their eyes, even if it's just for a few moments and they get it. It's like getting them to get it and getting that to stick longer and longer. It's kind of like developing a muscle, right? Okay, you worked out that muscle, it's a little pumped up, but it's going to be back to normal in a few hours. But if you keep doing that, that muscle is going to develop just like anything, right? And just to get things that stick with people, I think is really beautiful. So one of the things that you say is you try to give people life. Can you explain what L.I.F.E is to you?
Yes. So this last couple of years, I've had the struggle, especially with the pandemic going on. Before that, I've learned I was a social butterfly. I was involved in every committee, every board I can think of. I'm not a rich person financially, so my goal was always to give back with my time or getting my hands dirty, putting my hair up, taking my earrings off, pulling my sleeves up and getting my hands dirty per se.
Love it.
And so for me, it's a chance to give back. And so when I think of what I do in life, I was missing, the energy, the networking, the building community part of my life. And so I had to switch to a virtual setting. And so I was able to create a podcast, which is the hashtag Yes, Chef Carlos podcast. And basically my goal is to bring life to everyone. And I do that by leading, inspiring, feeding, and educating. So those are my 4 huge parts of what I do in life. And it relates to the 5, pyramids of needs for anyone, right? It's being, building that psychological standpoint for someone. It's building safety, it's love, it's belonging, and then building someone's self-esteem, which will allow them to realize, self-actualization. And that's kind of what my focus was for that. And I just love it. It's, I just put it out there, and the podcast itself has reached over 32 countries in the last couple of months. So I'm really happy with it. It's been fun, but again, it's building people's energy and empowering them to get a little life in them from just me talking. And if it reaches one person, if it reaches, hundreds of people, great. I'm excited about it, but I'm also, as long as I reach one person, someone can relate with what I'm dealing with. Any of my stories or struggles that I talk about, before I was not able to talk out of anything, body positivity. I share stories that I've never talked to anybody about, hiding myself or covering myself up, for example. And now I'm out here sharing stories, and I've had people relate to certain situations and scenarios. And that alone has been enough. And so I'm happy to just keep doing this and building that whole brand of itself up too.
That's beautiful. And I can relate to the bravery. I will say that word. It is bravery to risk putting yourself out there in a way where you could be ridiculed. I mean, not everybody's kind in this world. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. And even with the best of intentions, some people don't mind putting other people down just because it makes them feel better, or for whatever their reasons are, and I know you don't attract those people, right? Because you're attracting the people who your message will resonate with. But yes. But I can say in my life and some of the gifts that I've developed, I feel like I have to be brave to share them, because you do risk so much in the risk of being different or having different perspectives and sharing. What I love about this authenticity is the vulnerability that we share, because that is what makes us human, right? That vulnerability. And we're not all strong, and we're not all this or this other thing, or things that people think we may be or may put on us, right?
And in life, there's all these awkward moments. There's these gray areas. You don't know what to venture in, or what's the right choice or the wrong choice. And you have to take that first step. You have to, if that moment in your time is just the awkwardest gray area moment, as long as you're taking that first step, being scared is totally about it. It's all reality. But you won't know until you take that first step if it's a right way or the wrong way. And it's not the wrong way. It's just, we tried this, it's not working. Let's pivot and let's change it into a different direction.
Yeah, exactly. I love that word pivot. And I think, owning a small business is really easy to pivot. And I've applied that same thing to my life. That's not working. I guess I'll change that. That's working. It makes me feel good. It helps elevate me. I'm going to continue doing that. And I think maybe you can talk a little bit about just being in touch with your feelings and being in touch with your intuition, or, what are your thoughts around that? Like when people do come upon those crossroads and it is uncomfortable, how do you dig down and really know when and where and how to take that first step?
I've learned that over time, definitely. I've struggled with a lot of confidence, especially in different locations or scenarios or environments that are always just not comfortable, and you feel the tension. And I go by feelings. I walk into a room and I'm like, you know what? This isn't working for me. And it's okay to turn around and walk out and walk away, because walking away is so huge for a lot of us, that, a lot of us think of it as failure. I failed. I wasn't able to accomplish or do it. It's not a fact of failure. It's a fact that, you made the decision and say, this isn't for me at this point. Let's turn around, reanalyze our life, and then see if we can do it again. And at that point, you decide to do it again, you're going to be more stronger and ready and just able to embrace it. I also go into, being a person of the LGBT community, I feel, sometimes uncomfortable with different situations in my life where I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is the right space for me. I'm going to definitely take myself out and center myself and allow myself to heal from that. And if I decide to go back in there stronger and better, great. But if not, it's a huge of me to just walk away.
It is actually brave to walk away. There are so many people, and I know especially some younger women, who will stay in something longer than they should, who will tolerate something longer than they should, because it's not good for them. Because sometimes it's harder to go against the grain of society and say, I'm not going to do that because that's not good for me. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to pull the plug. I'm going to do whatever. Like sometimes it's easier just to go with the flow sometimes, even though that is not sometimes what's good for people. Right.
Right. And it's really just knowing your worth, and that's where self-esteem and confidence comes into play, is understanding what you're worth. And in my life, I have a lot of friends who are females who I try to empower and embrace them because they're just strong individuals and there's so much against them. And I can go for any other type of population or community out there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's knowing that self-worth, and it's going back to the word of self-love. Do you love yourself enough to move in a certain direction or understand, what, this isn't right for me? I can then pivot again and change what I need to do to move forward.
Right, exactly. And I think a message for a lot of people that are younger, anyone listening to this, is that you don't have to compromise. You don't have to go along with something just because you feel like you should or the pressure's on you to do something. I think that puts people in very precarious positions. And actually, if they took that little step and said, I'm not going to do that, that builds their confidence. Walk
Right.
away, confidence builder, good decision, right? And it's just like
Yeah.
those little steps. I think about how many times I've been in precarious positions as a 16-year-old and go, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I survived my teens. And I was a good, I was like I didn't do drugs. I went to summer school every year. I graduated when I was before I was 17 from high school. Like just this kid that was always, I did gymnastics so that I would stay out of trouble and I didn't have to be at home in a dysfunctional family. Right. So
Right.
there are all these, things that I can certainly relate to in some ways. And I think that walking away is it can be as powerful as staying in that room
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I still deal with moments of that where I just don't know what's next. But
Mm-hmm.
I think of everyone else in the world who has been, taken from their voice. I try to make sure I have a voice. I'm trying to show that I'm going to use my voice to share and the energy and the love and the flow for people who haven't had the chance to use their voice or are unable to have the strength to share their opinions or ideas. And that's why I always strive to put my hand up first and say my piece first, so people understand, what, I'm here to not just speak for myself, I'm here to speak for others who can't share their words and for different reasons.
That's really beautiful. I'm just kind of picking up like maybe some workshop would be great for the interaction along
Yes,
these lines. I see you
I love that.
leading so many, maybe post COVID when you can actually be in a room with people freely, that would be just so wonderful.
Yes.
So do you feel like this is your life purpose now? Like we can talk about your goals and how you feel like you are moving forward with your passions and your authenticity and your integrity. I mixed two words together there. It's a new word.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it is. Like I mentioned earlier, before I was, a quiet individual, and now I've been able to find my confidence. And learning being true to yourself is huge. And now I'm at a point in life where I'm unashamed and I'm living unapologetically, and I'm able to kind of move forward with that. And that's kind of what my goals are. And I feel I've always asked the questions, how do I share this with the world? How can I get, my words out there? And even if it's my, social circle or family or community that I'm a part of or worldwide, how can I share this message of living this way out there? And that's where I was able to kind of put all this together and say, you know what? It's time to do so. I feel like people always ask me, you should write a book, Chef Carlos. And I'm like, I'm not quite there yet. I feel like I'm still simmering, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
building, we're still growing, we still have a life to live. And so I'm excited to just kind of take everything and embrace it, say yes when I have to or when I can, but also learn to say no if I, can't take it on at this point in time. So the power of no is definitely huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. But it's also, let's see what the world has for me. And again, if I can get out there and just share my words with one person here in front of me, I've done my part. But if
Mm-hmm.
I can then share this message and grow from it, it's all about it.
Absolutely. And I love that, taking stewardship of other people and bringing them along with you in your journey, because we are all on a journey. We all continue to grow and change and transition. And you were talking about body confidence and even if you have the most perfect body, guess what? There's aging. There are things that continue to happen. We are a moving target. And we never just like, okay, we're here or here, we're on this journey and I've arrived and, okay, I've accepted my body and now it changes. And so, it's just
the beauty of it all though,
It is. It is. I love how you put that. It's the beauty of it all for sure. So tell us about your brand, your Yes Chef Carlos, what you're currently doing.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, Chef Carlos is up and alive and it's doing its thing. You can find me like on my Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I go live every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And basically, I just have a different conversation with myself and my viewers from all over the world. And we just have different things, a couple of them is, food creates community or big ain't bad when it comes to body positivity. Mm-hmm. There's also ones that I've done, embrace the stretch marks or the power of love or the power of pride. So there's just different topics that I have going on and I'm, trying to build that up. And I always try to gear it back to food and how food for me is a chance to heal. Mm-hmm. But it also, it brings, inclusivity and cultural awareness out there so people can embrace their own life and their own, ways of doing things. And I just love being able to share that with the world. But I'm currently just kind of doing that. I've been on different podcasts all over the United States. So I've been happy to be part of this virtually. And again, I'm just out here sharing my life, sharing my journey, sharing my story, and leading, inspiring, feeding, and educating. So
yes, life. Who knew that would have such an amazing definition around it? That's really, really beautiful. Do you have any advice for people who do want to either set their own goals or establish a brand or, as you have done, be able to package yourself as a voice?
If I were to give advice to anyone kind of ready to start this journey or a brand, I'd say start with small goals, goals that are achievable, goals that are tangible, things you can change, 1 week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. And that's what I start with myself is figuring out what my schedule is. Once I was able to set the goals and meet the goals, I was able to create bigger goals. What's my 3 months now? What's my 6-month goal? So definitely creating goals and starting small. Mm-hmm. For me, before I started this, I had to recenter myself and analyze my mind. And so a way that I did that was I would set up a schedule where I'd wake up an hour earlier than normal. I would not check my phone or any social media. And I just have 1 hour of meditation or time for myself. I grab my coffee, I grab my notebook, open the door, sit outside, and just take notes. Whatever I wanted to think about or write, I took time for myself. And then after I was able to, check my phone, get ready for work, get my day started. But that 1 hour before the world wakes up around me or my busy day starts, I took that time for myself to be able to clear the mind, clear my soul and my energy. So that way I can be able to move on with my day more productively. And so for me, that's something I definitely love and instill in my life. And I would definitely like to share that with everybody else, to take time for yourself and just take notes because your mind is busy and you just got to write it all down.
Yeah, absolutely. I do something very similar. I call it being in the state of allowance, where you're allowing this goodness, you're making space for it, right? You're clearing out distractions. And I think you have a beautiful point, which is once you get going in your day, you're bombarded. There are just things going on all day long, and the phone and the text messages and just, tons of distractions. Right. And then if you have kids, I have 4, lots more distractions. Right. Yes. I don't know if you knew that.
Wow. 4 kids. Congratulations.
Yeah. They're all beautiful.
2 dogs.
You have 2 dogs.
That's enough.
Dogs are great. I used to joke that I had like 4 children, 3 dogs, 2 guinea pigs, and fortunately just 1 husband because 1 is plenty. It's kind of like that partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, you keep busy. You keep busy.
Absolutely. So this is really great. And then so that helps people along their purpose, right? Is if they can establish their goals, right? How do you know when, or how did you know when you found your purpose? How would you help other people? Because so much of it is, with what I hear from people, and even my own, like, am I on the right path? Am I on my God-given path? What is my purpose? We all have a purpose. It's not to be here and do nothing. It's not to, and our purpose could be simply to have fun in life. I'm not judging the purpose.
Right.
But we all have that question. Like, why am I here? What am I here to learn? What am I here to do?
So I totally see that, and I get it. And I actually embrace that very often. For me, it's understanding what's next. I always ask myself, what's next? For me, I'm able to start new journeys, accomplish it very comfortably and confidently, and then kind of be ready to move on. So I ask myself, what's next? And there's times where, like I mentioned earlier, it's uncomfortable. And I know there's that area where I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I really, truly won't know until I put my first step into there and say, you know what, let's give it a shot. And that's what I did with, like, my podcast. I set up my phone. I found my lamp from my desk, and I just set up somewhere in a nice little background area, and I just went for it. I went live on social media, and I got the love and the energy and the excitement from everybody else. And I just started sharing, hey, this is my new journey. If you want to be a part of it, great. If you don't, it's okay. I'm just out here to share my point of view, my guidance, my words, in hopes that I can reach someone. And if I don't that day, that's okay. We'll try again the next time, right? So that's kind of what I did. And now I have a studio here in my home. It's called the Bear and Bougie Studio, because I'm living the bearded, big and tall, and the fabulous lifestyle. And I just do my thing, right?
Yeah. And that's really beautiful. It's that authenticity. It's that just loving who you are and enjoying that journey.
As I say, love is love.
I love it.
I have fans for every occasion.
All right, show us a few.
Share
your fans. Show your fan collection.
We got to go out there, and we just got to be out of this world, honey. Right? And we got to go in there and just say yes to the chef.
Yes.
All right. And let's go with one more. We're here and we're going to slay the day. Slay the day, everybody. And more importantly, as always, live life and always feel gorgeous.
Always. And bling. I love bling.
And bling, yes. And there's more. There's literally like 50 of them. There's too many right now.
I think they're great. So any of you wanting to send Chef Carlos a gift, I'm sure he would love a fan with something really unique on it.
I've got plenty of gifts of fans, and I love them all.
I bet. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Chef Carlos. You've just shared some amazing things with us. Are there any parting thoughts you want to leave people with before we sign off?
Let me just say, my name is Chef Carlos Pineda, and I'm here living my true fantasy of life by being authentic, being unapologetic, and unashamed to be who I am.
Well, I love you for who you are. You are an amazing, amazing person. So thank you for your companionship, your humor, your compassion, your all things that I believe make humanity quite beautiful. And I mentioned earlier, I think with you just offline, but for every podcast that I do, I say a blessing for everyone that's listening, everyone that has listened or will be listening, for every room, for every behind the scenes person. That means you, Andrew, behind the camera, helping out Chef Carlos, to be filled with love and light and health, good health and happiness. And that extends to everybody. So thank you for engaging with us on this episode of Toni Talks Humanity Matters. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on ways to uplift and elevate your life and others around you. You can visit Chef Carlos. We're going to be posting all of his social links here, and also visit tonijulian.com for my blog, Toni's Protein Meal Products, and more podcast episodes and books and more. So we're going to do this. Ready, Chef Carlos?
Yeah.
From our heart to yours.
Beautiful. I love
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.